He was just a pawn in her game. But what she didn't realize was that he was about to flip the board. The wedding was straight out of a fairy tale. Jessica Whitman, the epitome of a picture-perfect Southern belle, stood beneath a canopy of golden lights, her ivory gown flowing like waves of silk. Beside her, Malik, a self-made businessman, beamed with pride. He had won the heart of a woman who, by all appearances, adored him. The ceremony was held at an upscale vineyard just outside Nashville, Tennessee, a venue carefully chosen by Jessica's family. It was intimate, yet elegant, filled with hand-selected guests who sipped expensive champagne and exchanged polite smiles. But not everyone in Jessica's circle was smiling. Some guests, especially the older ones, watched with carefully measured expressions, their real thoughts concealed behind years of practiced politeness. Jessica, however, seemed unbothered. She stood confidently by Malik's side, her hand firmly in his, her eyes shining with admiration. And online, she was an even bigger champion for their love. "Love sees no race. It's 2023 and we're breaking barriers together," she wrote in an Instagram post just a week after their honeymoon in Malibu. The post went viral. Their story captivated the internet, and overnight, Jessica became an influencer, celebrated for her boldness and defiance of societal norms. Malik, on the other hand, cared little for social media fame. He was happy, or at least he thought he was. Things were good. Jessica made sure of that. Their house, a modern 2-story home in Brentwood, Tennessee, was pristine, almost too perfect. She decorated it with a minimalist, almost sterile aesthetic, a stark contrast to Malik's preference for warmth and personality. Still, he overlooked it. She was strong-willed, that's what he loved about her. But then there were little things. Jessica always insisted on handling the finances, despite Malik being more than capable. She made decisions, big ones, without consulting him, and when he asked about them, she'd smile sweetly and say, "Baby, trust me, I've got us." He wanted to believe her, but one evening as they sat on their sleek white couch watching TV, Malik reached for the remote and accidentally knocked over a stack of mail. As he picked them up, he noticed a thick legal envelope with Jessica's name on it. The sender, a law firm. "Hey, Jess, you got something from an attorney," he said, casually handing it to her. Jessica's reaction was swift. She snatched it from his hands before he could even read the firm's name. Her usual warm smile flickered into something else, something colder. "Oh, just some old family business," she said, slipping the envelope behind her back. Then just like that, her bright expression returned and she leaned in, pressing a kiss to his cheek. "Nothing to worry about, babe." Malik laughed it off. Why wouldn't he? Couples had secrets, minor ones. This was nothing, right? But that was the first moment, the first time that something didn't feel quite right. At first, Malik brushed off the moment with the letter. Jessica was private about her family affairs, so what he had no reason to doubt her. But then the red flag started stacking up. It was little things at first. Jessica always had an opinion about the way he dressed, not in the sweet teasing way she used to, but in a way that felt sharp. "That shirt's a little loud. Don't you think," she'd say when he wore one of his favorite bold-colored button-ups, or maybe something more neutral would look better on you? Neutral. That was Jessica's word for everything. The house, his clothes, his... Wanted to believe it was a mistake, that there was an explanation. But deep down, something told him this wasn't an accident. Still, he didn't say anything. That night he told himself he needed to be sure. But the truth was, he was afraid of the answer. Malik wasn't the type to snoop. He believed in, trust in giving his wife the benefit of the doubt, but trust only works when it's mutual. And something about Jessica, about the way she carried herself lately, told him that trust was a one-way street. One evening, Jessica left her laptop open on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower. Normally, he wouldn't think twice about it. But this time his eyes landed on an open email thread. The subject line made his stomach tighten. "Finalizing the inheritance details urgent." Malik's hands hovered over the keyboard. He knew better than to invade her privacy. but his gut told him that whatever was inside that email he needed to see it. He clicked. The email was from a law firm, the same firm on that envelope he'd seen weeks ago, per the conditions set forth in Mr. Whitman's estate plan. Your inheritance will be transferred in full upon the completion of the 3-year marriage term. We will need proof of continuity before the final disbursement. Malik's heart slammed against his ribs. His breathing slowed 3 years. He scrolled further. Attached to the email was a folder titled Financial Projections. His fingers were ice cold. As he opened it inside, he found a detailed document breaking down exactly how much money Jessica would be entitled to once the marriage term was met, $8 million. And below that, notes on an exit strategy projected divorce timeline. Q3 of year 3. Alimony projections. None prenuptial agreement ensures financial separation upon divorce. Recommended strategy, gradual emotional distancing. Documented irreconcilable differences favorably written to secure public sympathy. Malik's vision blurred. His mouth went dry. Jessica hadn't just planned to leave him, she had strategized every single part of it, from the narrative to the financials. He wasn't her husband. He was a business move, a stepping stone to her fortune. Then the worst part, at the bottom of the file was a section labeled Communications. It was a series of messages between Jessica and her older brother, Ethan Whitman. Jessica, it's honestly disgusting how easy this is. He actually thinks I love him. Ethan, well, at least you don't have to sleep with him forever. 2 more years. Stay focused. Jessica, oh, I'm focused. And when this is done, I never want to see his face again. Malik's body. Locked up 2 years, that's how long he had left before she discarded him like trash, before she humiliated him, before she walked away richer than ever, while he was left with nothing but the pieces of his broken life, and she had no idea that he knew. Malik closed the laptop slowly, his hands trembling, his mind raced, trying to make sense of everything. How had he been so blind? How had he let himself fall for the illusion Jessica had played him perfectly? And now she was in control of everything, his finances, his reputation, his future. He wanted to confront her, wanted to throw that laptop in her face, and demand answers. But then what she would lie, she would twist the truth, manipulate him, gaslight him into believing he was overreacting. No, he couldn't let her know what he had found. Not yet. The sound of running water stopped a moment later. He heard the soft click of the bathroom door opening. "Babe," Jessica called from the hallway. "Where'd you go?" Malik inhaled sharply, forcing his voice to stay, even just checking emails. Her footsteps approached. Then, just like always, she slipped behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist. She smelled like vanilla and expensive soap. "You work too much," she murmured, pressing a kiss to the back of his neck. His skin crawled. Malik turned, forcing a smile, just trying to keep up. Jessica studied his face, her blue eyes searching for something new. "Okay, you look a little tense for a split second." He thought she knew, but then she smirked and ran a finger down his chest. "You sure it's not just because I'm standing too close?" She kissed him, then soft, sweet, the way she always did when she wanted something. Malik kissed her back, pretending everything was fine, pretending he was still the same man he'd been an hour ago, before he knew the truth, because if Jessica could lie for years, so could he. But the ACT wouldn't be easy over the next few weeks. Malik watched her differently, every word, every smile, every touch. He analyzed it all, and what terrified him the most wasn't the deception. It was how good she was at it. Jessica moved through life effortlessly, weaving lies into every interaction. She played the role of the devoted wife so well, no one would ever suspect the truth. She still posted about their love on social media, still held his hand in public, still called him my king when the cameras were rolling, and the worst part, she was patient. She never rushed things. She was willing to wait to play the long game. That meant Malik had to do the same. But Jessica wasn't stupid. She sensed something was different. "You're acting weird lately," she said one night. As they lay in Badu, quieter, distant Malik shrugged. Just a lot on my mind. She studied him in the dark, her fingers tracing lazy circles on his chest. Is it business, yeah? Jessica was silent for a moment, then rolled onto her side. You know, I'll always take care of you, right? He stared at the ceiling. Jessica didn't love him, but she sure as hell owned him, and if he wasn't careful, she'd make sure he never walked away. Malik knew one thing for sure. He had to get out, but he couldn't just leave. Not yet. Jessica was too smart, too calculated. If she even suspected he was planning something, she tightened her grip. He had seen what she was capable of. He had to be patient. He had to be smarter than her. The first thing he did was regain control of his finances. It wasn't easy. Jessica had set up so many barriers, so many protections under the guise of looking out for him. But Malik wasn't a fool. He had built a business from nothing. He knew how to move money without raising suspicion. He opened a separate bank account under a business. Alias, slowly, over the course of weeks, he started transferring small amounts, just enough to go unnoticed, not enough to trigger a red flag. The second step was gathering proof. If Jessica had played the long game, so would he. He started keeping records, screenshots, copies of emails, voice memos. He installed a hidden app on his phone that recorded their conversations, saving every backhanded remark, every little slip in her perfect mask, and then the most dangerous part, he needed a way out that wouldn't destroy him. Divorce wasn't an option. Not yet. If he filed first, Jessica would control the narrative. She would play. The victim turn public sympathy against him. No, Malik needed something bigger. Something that would make her the one who had to run. But Jessica was watching one evening as Malik closed his laptop. Jessica stood in the doorway of his office. "You've been different lately," she said, arms crossed. "Work, stress." Malik replied, keeping his voice light. "Just..." Jessica tilted her head, studying him. "You sure? Because it almost feels like you're hiding something." His stomach tightened. He forced himself to meet her gaze. "Why would I hide anything from my wife?" She smiled at that. But it wasn't a real smile. It was the kind she used when she already knew she was winning good. She said, walking over and placing a hand on his shoulder, "Because you know I hate secrets." She kissed his forehead, lingering just a second too long, and for the first time Malik wondered, was he really playing her? Or had she known all along? Malik's escape plan had to move faster. Jessica was watching him too closely now. Every interaction felt like a test, every question a trap. But he had one final move. He had saved the most damning piece of evidence for the right moment. Jessica's email thread with her brother, the one mocking him, the one spelling out her plan. He printed it out, made copies, and sent them to her lawyer, her family, and most importantly, the media. Jessica didn't even see it coming one morning. She woke up to dozens of missed calls. By the time she stepped into the living room, Malik was waiting for her suitcase in hand. She barely had time to open her mouth, before her phone buzzed again. Her mother, her brother. The family lawyer. Malik watched as her face drained of color, watched the perfect mask crack. "What did you do?" she whispered. He exhaled, feeling lighter than he had in months. "I let the world see the real you." Jessica's lips parted, but for once she had no clever response. She had spent years crafting the perfect image, but in a single night it all crumbled. The media turned on her. Her own family distanced themselves. The inheritance, frozen under legal review. And Malik, he walked away with everything she thought she had taken from him. His dignity, his freedom, his power. Some people don't love you. They love what you can do for them. The biggest mistake you can make is ignoring the signs. Trust actions, not words. If you ever feel trapped in someone's web, remember the only way to win is to take back control before they tighten their grip. What would you do if you found out the person you loved was using you? Let's talk about it in the comments.